Hi, I'm George. We're here at Makerspace to show you how to change the blades on our new Rigid planer. Very first thing off the bat before you do anything, make sure your planer is unplugged because, well, I don't have to explain it, but just make sure it's unplugged. All right. Having ascertained that it is unplugged, I'll now direct you to the handle on the Rigid. It's a magnetic handle and a hex key. The hex key is used to remove the bolts that hold the dust shroud and also the dust chute. I've gone ahead and removed most of the screws for demonstration purposes here. So remove this fellow, undo the nuts or the bolts here, pull the dust shroud out. Keep your hands out of this compartment, this area, because there are some very sharp blades going on in there. You'll notice the debris that's in here. It's important that you pull that out, you draw that out, suck it out, vacuum it out, that's the word I'm looking for, before we do anything else. The reason is you don't want the debris to get caught underneath the blades as you're replacing them. It would throw the settings of the blades off dramatically. So here we go, I'm going to vacuum out the compartment. So in order to advance the cutters as you're replacing the blades, you only use the fan. Never try and advance putting your fingers in there and advancing the cutter head. So I will show you how the fan will advance the blade for you. Here's an important thing. This little red tab, when you depress it, releases the lock pin that locks the cutter head in place. So I will release it and I will now rotate the fan until you hear a click. And you see that thing returning to its position. The cutter head is now locked, allowing you to remove the 6 hex screws. Okay, for brevity's sake, we've loosened them off, taken some out. I'm now going to obviously take some of these out. One, two. Now the blade in this position is relatively safe. It is underneath this part of the cutter head. So you're relatively safe, but again, always exercise caution when around this kind of machinery. All right, use the magnetic handle to lift the cutter, the blade holding plate. This is not the blade, this is the holding plate. You just lift it as much as you can. Don't try and lift it high because it could fall off like that. I just want to demonstrate that. Okay, take it out. Check and make sure it's relatively clean. Give it a wipe. All right. I want to point out 2 things. There's 2 locating pins on the cutter head. This thing has to fall into the locating pins on the cutter head. So that's that. Now, here comes the cutter. Again, using the magnetic handle only. Do not handle this blade with your hands. All right, out it comes. This edge now, we'll say, is dull. What I would do is I would take a felt marker and just make a little tick to indicate that that's the used edge. You want to use the other edge, you simply rotate it and put it back in, okay? So since this edge is still good and new, you don't need to do that. Now, before you do anything else, gently place it down there. Just check and make sure there's no crap or debris, stuff, preventing the blade from resting flat against the cutter head face here. Okay, back in we go. Find the locating pins. Put the blade on the locating pins. When they're on there, one finger, hold down the blade and just pull the magnet off. That's it, no more. It's on there. Make sure it is. Bring in the holding plate. Again, it's fairly weighty, so the magnet handle does not always hold it perfectly, but just to get it in there is just right. Just the right amount of strength for the magnet. Okay, I've just now located it onto the locating pins. It's not moving. I will put in the, return the, trying to be too formal here with my language, but just put those darn bolts back in, like so. And I'll put another one in because I don't want the blade to fall out. So, once these fellows are in, the best practice, at least the way I think it should be done, is you gently tighten each one, just gently. Then you come back, tighten it one more time on each one, and then the final one you do a nice firm but not crazy hard tighten. You'll know, you'll feel it. And then do that for all 6. Once that is done, you want to advance to the next knife. Again, you push down the red tab. That retracts the locking pin, and now you can advance to the next cutter. Release, and then find, boom, locking cutter. The locking pin is in. Do the same, and then you do it for the third blade. Okay, I've just finished tightening the last bolt. Just good and firm. You don't need to go crazy tight on those. The next thing we'll do, the next step will be to replace the dust hood. Now, here's an important fact. You need to depress this and make sure the shroud covers the red tab here, so that it takes the locking pin out of the cutter head. So I'll show you that now. Put this in and make sure the dust cover is over the metal red tab, and then slide it in. Once you got it in this position, rotate the fan to make sure that the cutter heads are turning, and indeed they are here. Now you put the bolts back in, put the dust chute back on, and you're in business. All right, so we've tightened everything up. The dust shroud's in place. The red tab is where it should be. We've checked the cutters. They're free to rotate. Dust port is on. Do a close visual look, both sides, looking for any nuts, bolts that you've forgotten to put back. It's kind of an important thing. Then, when you're happy, free and clear, return the tool back to its proper place, ready to use for the next user.